Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about a different thing you can do if an option is going against you. Basically, what you're going to do is turn your option into a spread. So, we have this IDX. Now, originally, I sold this option right here. That's why it has a -1 on the Thinkorswim platform. And my strike price was $3 because at the time it was looking like it was going to go above $3, but it was just really a spike in the graph. This is why you always want to look at the short-term graph and the long-term graph. This is a prime example. Okay, because when you check out these graphs, so at the time I was looking at it, let's see. And when I purchased this, it was over here in this peak. In this. So I thought, oh my gosh, it's like 350. So I thought it was gonna go up more. Sorry, it's like changed. So I sold a put for $3 and said if it goes down to $3, I'll buy it. Well, now that we're looking at the 1-year graph, like if you're looking at this graph, it's obvious that this is actually like the happy zone for this stock, which is less than $1.50. You could see over here. And so typically the stock trades at $1 ish, you know. And this is a very long period of time where it just stayed at this, $1.50 range. And so obviously that's where this stock sits. But I was looking at a more short-term graph and see how different that looks. This is for today, but let's go back to where I actually purchased this. Okay, so it's only a 5 day, so it doesn't want to go all the way back. So obviously right there it looks bearish. Let's look 10 days. Okay, so when you're looking at this short-term graph, look at this. So you see, if you are looking at this graph, you're like, if you're looking right here, you're like, oh, it's going up. And if this other stuff hasn't happened yet, so you're like, hey, it's going up, it's going up. And so you're like, look, this $3 strike price, that seems reasonable, right? Because it's totally bullish. And that's why a lot of traders will tell you to look at different graphs. You need to look at like one of the 5 day graphs and then look at either the 6 months or the year or something. Because right here, when I bought it, I was just going quickly and I didn't look at both graphs. And so I thought it was going to go up. And so now I promised to buy 100 shares at $3 a share because I'm thinking, wow, this is headed for the moon. Okay, maybe not the moon, but I thought it was going to hang out in the $4 range. But when you look at the 1-year graph, it's very obvious that those are just random spikes. Maybe some news came out or something, but for the most part, this hangs out in the $150 range. So then what ends up happening is I sold that option saying I'd buy it for $3. Now I'm on the hook for that. And when I'm looking at this graph, I get scared because if I pay $3 a share and this likes to hang out in the $1 a share range, I'm going to immediately lose about $200 potentially. Because looking at this graph, I'm not convinced it's going to stay. Right now it's $2 a share, but I'm not convinced it's going to stay there because we see it slowly goes back down. Look at this. See? This one, it's hanging out in the 50-cent range. So this is the beginning of 2020. So it's not even like because of the pandemic. Because look at March. Nope. If anything, it went up after the pandemic started. But it was hanging out this low right here at the bottom. It was 20 cents a share. So I'm about to have 100 shares for $3 a piece. But because I did not look at the graph, this could go back down to 20 cents a share. And when we're looking at majority of the time throughout the year, it's around like $1 or less. So that is not good. So then I started to panic. I was like, oh no, what do I do? So I went and I wanted to get rid of my option, because you can do that. You can roll it. You can just say, you know what? It was a bad trade. Let's jump ship, abandon, abort, abort. So we go over here. We look at the option that we sold. And right now, the bid is 95, which means that people are willing to pay $95 for this current option that I have, and the ask is 105. So people are wanting to sell it for 105. So I already sold it to collect premium, so I would be on the bidding side. I'd want to buy it back. Well, if we look at the trade price here, see trade price, then we see I was paid $95 for this option. So if I want to get rid of this option, I will make no money. If anything, I might end up losing $10, because a lot of times you can't necessarily get it for the price you want. You're going to get it for somewhere in between the bid and ask. Is why it's called a bid and ask spread. And if you really, really, really want to get rid of it, I want to buy it now, then I'm going to have to pay this 105, because that's what the sellers are selling it for right now. And so then I would end up losing $10 on this trade. So depending upon the deal, right? Because this is IDEX for $2 a share. So at the end of the day, I can lose $200. Typically, you want to keep your losses to 10% or less. So it's not like, no, you can't just be like, oh, screw it, it's just $200. But it's not going to, like, you never get into a trade that would make or break you, okay? You never do that. So if $200 would make or break you, you shouldn't even be in this trade. But for me, like, I keep my losses at 10%. And so if the choices are getting 100 shares of something that could end up being trash and end up selling for 50 cents a share, then selling this option right now and losing $10 is a very viable option. That's a very viable choice. Because then at the end of the day, you just lost $10, and that, that's a reasonable loss. So you got to figure out, what do you want to do right now? Now, if this was Tesla or like, any of the bigger stocks, like even Ford, which is selling at $9 a share right now, or Kroger selling at like $30 a share right now, then you'd be in trouble, right? Because if you thought it was gonna, like, from $30, it could really go down significantly. So if it's looking bearish and it's looking like you're gonna start losing like 30-40%, you would want to jump ship. So if you can jump ship for $10, cool, get out. Just let this baby go. So that's one choice that you have. But the problem is, when I looked at the news and I looked at the company and I looked at what they sell, it has a little bit of potential, right? It's been doing gradually better. The graph is slowly going up. Like, it was normally like 20 cents, and then it was normally like 50 cents. And it was looking like the $1.50 range. It was there for like 6 months. And so it's like gradually going up, and the price is pretty stable. The graph is pretty flat. And so that gives me some confidence in this company. And so maybe I don't want to jump ship, right? Because think about this. If you buy 100 shares, even though you're paying $3 a share, because that was my strike price, $3 per share, but I also was paid a premium of $95. So that means I technically would get it for $2 a share. So that means technically I would break even. So, and then it periodically goes up to $4, we saw on the graph. So I could break even, and then I could turn around and sell it for $4, right? So if you're thinking like, you know what, I don't mind that I'm going to get assigned, I'm okay with owning this, then what I encourage you to do is you buy insurance, right? I always say buying options is like insurance. So, and selling options, you're like the insurance provider. So in that case, what I did, because I actually want to keep this, is I see that I'm going to get assigned, because it says right here in the money, and December 18th is the day. So if it's still below $3 a share on December 18th, then I'm going to end up owning 100 shares. And so I could sell it right then. If it's still $2, I could break even. So that's one option. Or I could hang on to it. So what I did was I purchased an option, right? And so this is just as insurance more so than to make money. So if you buy a put, then this is someone promising you that if it falls below $2 per share, because I bought a $2 strike price, then they will buy it. So you see how that's insurance, right? Because now I'm going to have 100 shares. And so if I'm wrong and this stock never, ever goes back up, and it just goes back to how the graph was hanging out in the $1.50, $1 range, even lower sometimes, 50-cent range. If it goes back to that, and those two, let's say those, because you don't know why those spikes happen. You could research and see if any news came out. But it could have been a pump and dump with such an inexpensive stock. It could have just been one of those companies saying, like, everybody buy this stock like they do, and then the price goes up so that that person who sent out the newsletter can make a bunch of money. If that's the case, then this stock is going to go back down to its normal price between 50 cents and $1.50. And so basically what I did was I bought this option, which expires in January 21st. So I'm going to have these 100 shares. I'm going to get assigned December 18th. And I have this option, which when you buy an option, you don't necessarily get assigned. You could choose to use your insurance. You don't have to. You know, like if you get in a little fender bender, you don't have to call the insurance company, but you can if you want to. And so I have until January 15th to sell my 100 shares at $2 a share. So you see, I believe this is what they call hedging. So now if I end up owning the shares, because I figured out that because I got paid the $95, if I end up owning the shares, I would break even if I was able to sell them for $2 a share. So I bought this contract. So at the end of the day, I can get out without, I don't want to lose the whole investment of $200 if the shares were to go down to flat zero. So now I have until January to see if I'm right, if this stock goes up. Now in January, if it's $4 a share, then I can just sell my 100 shares for $4. But if it goes down to 50 cents a share, because of this option contract, I will still be able to sell my shares for $2. So until January 15, 2021, I will be able to break even for my $2 per share. And so when you do this, then no matter what happens, you're good. You can either sell them for $2 a share, or if the price goes up higher, then this option will expire worthless, which means you just don't do anything with it. If January 15th happens and it's suddenly like $10 a share or something, then this contract was unnecessary, but you just had it just in case. And that way you can feel comfortable, because when you look at that graph, it's not very comforting. I got really panicky. I was like, oh my gosh, what if it goes back down to 50 cents a share? That's a humongous loss. But because of the spikes, there's potential here. And so I don't want to get rid of my shares. So you buy this. Now, I did end up having to pay $64 for this insurance, because of course insurance is not free. So that takes away from the $90 that I made. But I still am a net profit of $30, right? So I'm still up $30 from these two contracts. And then what could end up happening is I could end up using them both, or maybe if the trade goes my way, and I mean, in this case, based off of the graph, if it goes up past, $3 a share, that's just me being lucky at that point, and then I can sell it and make profit. But since I have this insurance, what I will be able to do is I would be able to sell calls, right? Because the thing about selling calls is, you make money, but you might get worried that like if I paid $3 a share and then it goes down to 50 cents a share, even with selling calls, I'm not going to recoup my money. So when we look over here, so now that I have this insurance at $2 a share, I don't have to worry about getting rid of the shares, because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to break even. So if I get assigned then what I can do is I can sell this call, right? So that way, if I'm wrong, then I still, like, the call just says if it goes up to $2.50, I will buy it, or I will sell my 100 shares. So if I'm wrong and it goes down to the 50 cents, I still get to keep the $60 that I made for my promise. Plus I can exercise my option, still sell it for the $2. So you see, I would make back the money I spent on my insurance. So I would still break even. You see that? This is why options is amazing. So in this case, I would still break even. I would still, because I'd be able to sell these for $2 a share. I received the premium of $95. So even though I paid $3 a share, if I can sell them for $2, I break even. And then once I own the stock next week, I will sell this call for $60. And so if I'm wrong and it goes down to 50 cents, I just break even. If I'm right and the price goes up, then I'll end up selling it for $2.50 a share, which means that I will make a net profit of $50, right? Because I paid $60 for my insurance, and then I got paid $60 for selling a call, and then I had broke even. So since I broke even at $2, the extra 50 cents would be profits for me. So even though this trade, I didn't do good analysis at the beginning, I still saved my butt just by hedging. And so I'm either going to end up breaking even or making money. You know, I'm not going to lose money because I got the insurance. And so that's better than a stop loss, because sometimes your stop loss gets missed and it just keeps going down and you're just shit out of luck. But in this case, no, you collect premium, and if it goes below $2, you have that contract. You can exercise it. You already made a deal with someone. They're already on the hook, so there's no skipping your stop loss. Also, if I really want to be fancy, because it did go on the graph, it did go to $4 two different times, I can make $45 instead and hope that by January 21st or January 15th, then it goes up to $3. So now that one's a little bit more riskier, because if I'm wrong and it goes below $2 and it goes back to the $1 range where it likes to sit, then I only would have made the 45 and my insurance was 60. And so at that point, I'm like a negative 15. So I'm risking $15 if I do this option. But the thing is, what if it goes to $3? You know, it's hit $4 twice. It has these huge peaks for some reason. So it's very possible that in the next month that could happen again. And if it does go to $4 again, then I would rather have a call option for $3, because then I'd make a total of $100 in profit. And if I'm wrong and it just goes back down and nothing happens, it just stays at $2, then I only lost $15 total on the trade. So for me, I kind of like, you know, they say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. I kind of like to just get the money back from my insurance, and then I can make the $50, because if it doesn't hit $3, and then I'll end up losing 15. And this is a lot of thoughts and a lot of actions and a lot of thinking and doing stuff for days just so that I could lose $15. So I'm more likely to go ahead and sell that call right there. But I mean, heck, you could even try to make the $200. You just get the 35. So then at that point, the most you could lose is $30 on this whole entire operation, because that's how much your insurance was. And then you, if you're right and it goes up to the $4 again, like it did already twice, then you would make $200 on this trade. So you see, sometimes you can hedge so that way you can't lose money, but you can still make money. All right, if you're still watching, please like my video. If you liked it, if you watched this point and you really enjoyed the video, and you can see how you can stop yourself from losing money, then I hope you like this video. All right, have a good day, and I will see you later.